Your Republican colleague in the House, Debbie Lesko, I talked to her earlier this week. She told me that this new background check legislation would not have prevented any of the recent mass shootings. Do you agree with that?
Not only do I agree with it, but that's factual. I would add to that would also criminalize if you had a friend or your wife or spouse had a friend who was maybe worrying about something or working through a temporary restraining order. If you allowed them or let them borrow some kind of weapon or gun, it would make you guilty of a criminal offense. But the interesting thing, and not a lot of outlets have picked up on this, is that the Republicans, and I've got it in my hand, was able to pass a motion to recommit. Now, what did that say? Basically, is that if in these background checks that are being passed by the Democrats, if an illegal alien popped up, we passed a motion to recommit that it would refer them to Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. The interesting thing is that 208 Democrats voted against it. The hypocrisy is absolutely stunning.
Well, and back to what you just said, Congressman, help us understand the nature of this. I'm seeing that it would make it necessary to get a background check when a gun is basically temporarily transferred from one person to another. If someone borrows a firearm, a background check would be needed. Is that right?
It is. The bottom line is this. It's once again adding more cumbersome ropes and strains and cost to the law-abiding citizen. There's nothing about this that keeps the guns out of the criminals' hands, once again.
And where do you expect this to go from here? The Republican Senate possibly not taking this up, I would imagine.
I would think so.
Okay.
They're hopefully, most of the time, we're counting on them to be the backstop for such legislation.
Okay. Switching gears here, Congressman, you tweeted today about Michael Cohen and his lack of credibility, saying that it's pretty clear. We are late in the day. The hearing just ended moments ago. Your reaction to the testimony happening today as he battles some of those Republican colleagues in the House Oversight Committee. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just worry about what this looks like sometimes. Here, the House Oversight Committee, their first major hearing of the year, their first big witness, and they bring in someone to testify before Congress who is going to prison in 2 months for lying to Congress. It's hard to wrap your mind around this. And listen, one of the few times in my life I can say I agree with Dianne Feinstein when she says this guy has a credibility problem. However, many of the Democrats continue to make the case, well, have you ever seen Mr. Trump hit his wife, or do you think he would ever go out and after physically harm someone? Ludicrous stuff, but once again a publicity stunt by the left that had no merit, and at the end of the day, I believe it looks bad on those guys.
Well, and you mentioned Senator Feinstein and, of course, other lawmakers and people all over the country. This seems to have been on many people's TVs today, some people paying attention, some people not paying attention, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. But what are the purpose of these hearings? In your mind, what's the purpose of all of this?
Well, I think it was interesting. I believe it was my friend Jim Jordan who asked Mr. Cohen this question: did you volunteer to come here today, or were you asked? And under oath, he had to acknowledge that he was asked, and I believe he was asked by one of the Clinton retreads, his attorney. And that's part of the problem. This was all staged to try to go after the president, to potentially weaken some of the things that he's doing. It's very sad that in this House, there's very little talk about what the president is doing and potentially being able to do over in Vietnam this very week. But we like to focus on the gossip. The House likes to talk about the what-ifs. And I think when it all washes out, I don't know that anybody significantly got a win out of this, except for the fact that Cohen once again proved himself to be untrustworthy.
And Congressman, you've been working very hard on, that there was the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act that was on the floor recently. Of course, the background check legislation on the floor today. A lot of lawmakers doing their duty on Capitol Hill. So finally, describe the level of distraction a hearing like this has on Capitol Hill on a day like this, or any day from a legislative standpoint.
Your gut instinct is spot on, Patrick. It is a distraction. What you try to do is process through these roadblocks or obstacles. The Democrats do not want to talk about the fact that and I was on the Senate floor 2 days ago when the Senate Democrats voted against to sustain the life of a baby. They don't want to talk about that because they are seeing the numbers move in this country, specifically with some of our younger folks under the age of 45. The problem is, in the past, our message, and some of that's on our responsibility, has not been able to cut through. But when you have New York State and Virginia suggesting abortion laws that match North Korea's, I believe people are waking up for the first time in a long time, and that's why you're seeing more and more people having a problem with this. The Democrats don't want to talk about that.
And so what you're saying is they would rather hold hearings like this. And finally, just quickly, because I know you have to go, what comes from these allegations today? What comes from this hearing today? What can we expect? Is this going to come and go as far as the news cycle goes and everyone moves on? Or what do you expect from the Democrats as we move on from this Michael Cohen hearing?
Well, I think the Democrats are planning stunts from different committees. Today it was the House Oversight. In a few days it'll be the Judiciary. Adam Schiff and his gang, they're going to continue to pound the president. Listen, here's the way that I resolve or summarize this, Patrick. There's some things in the president's past. Yes, they're not of high value, and it's things that we wouldn't aspire to. But as adults, at some point, we've got to separate the personality from the policy. The policy is this. Under the last 8 years of the Obama administration, 8 million people were driven into poverty, 11 million people added to the SNAP programs. In just 2 years, 4.5 million people have been able to be pulled out of poverty. When are we going to start measuring things that really matter?
All right. Congressman Mark Walker of North Carolina, as always, we appreciate your time, sir.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.